Hi, third grade. Today in language arts, we read a passage called Cleopatra Finds Her Voice. This is a historical fiction text, and while we read it together today, it says on the side that as you read, look inside, around, and beyond these words to figure out what they mean. So we have a couple of vocabulary words. The first word is barge. Say it. And the second word is ceremonies. Say it. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is read the story or listen to it. Here we go. Cleopatra finds her voice. 11-year-old Princess Cleopatra sailed the Nile River on the royal barge. Her father, the king of Egypt, played his flute. Okay, so we have a princess, Cleopatra. The Nile River is the longest river in the whole entire world. She's traveling on it, sailing on it, actually, on the royal barge. That's one of our words. Do we know what barge means now? Well, if she's sailing on a river, what would she be on? A royal what? Right, it's a large ship, right? A barge is a large ship. And her father is the king of what country? Egypt, right. He likes to play a flute. All right, let's keep reading. They were sailing from their palace in Alexandria to cities along the Nile. The king would often lead important ceremonies. Cleopatra watched for slithering crocodiles and yawning hippos. Sometimes she would catch a glimpse of a sacred ibis bird tiptoeing along the marshy banks. As the royal barge sailed, people crowded the banks, hoping to see the princess and her father. They sang and chanted and threw flowers, but it bothered Cleopatra that she could not understand what they said. Her father explained that the people of Egypt spoke Egyptian, while Cleopatra's family spoke Greek. Okay, so right now there is a little issue, right? They don't understand each other's languages. She knows Greek, not Egyptian. But her father was the ruler of Egypt. Why didn't he and his family speak the native language? That's actually very interesting. I didn't know that. You would think if her father was the king of Egypt that he would know how to speak Egyptian, that language. Paragraph 7. They could thank their ancestors for that, the king said. The royal family traced its history back 250 years to the time of the Greek conqueror Alexander the Great. Alexander had conquered Egypt. When he died, his Greek general, Ptolemy, took over. Ever since, all of the rulers of Egypt had spoken Greek. Once back at home, Cleopatra insisted on learning the Egyptian language. She believed that a ruler should know her people, and that meant knowing their words. I kind of like Cleopatra here, right? She wants to be able to communicate with her people in her country. Paragraph 9. Cleopatra studied hard and soon learned to speak Egyptian. But she didn't stop there. She also learned Hebrew, Aramaic, Persian, Latin, and some African dialects. Wow, that's a lot of languages to learn. She loved learning and excelled in math and science too. That's a good word to know too, boys and girls. Excelled. Say it. Excelled. If you excel at something, that means you are what? You're very good at it. Some of you may excel at some particular sports. Okay? Excelled means you're good at it. Later, when she ruled as queen, one of her first acts was to visit the city of Memphis for an important religious ceremony. There's that word ceremony again. This time, she spoke to the people in Egyptian. The people loved her for learning their language. She showed them respect and honor in many other ways too. Cleopatra is remembered as a brilliant queen. She was the only Egyptian ruler in hundreds of years to learn the language of her people. Yeah, she really cared, didn't she? Her actions prove it. So, the next thing we did was after we read the passage together, children answered questions 1 through 6 on their own. But I will read the questions out loud to you. Okay, so here we go. Use what you learned from reading the selection. We just read it. Cleopatra found her voice to respond to these questions. Question 1. This question has 2 parts. First, answer part A, then answer part B. Let's look at part A first. What does Cleopatra find out about herself after she learns to speak Egyptian? Choice A. Speaking Egyptian helps her understand her religion better. B. She no longer thinks her father is a good king. C. Her family's old language no longer sounds right. Or D. She realizes she has a love for learning. Okay, make your choice. Pause the video if you need. Always, boys and girls, go back into the text if you're having a hard time remembering and reread it so that you can comprehend it. Part B. Choose two details from the story that support your answer to part A. So look back up. What did you pick for part A? You need to pick details to support that. 2 of them. You're circling 2 letters down here for part B. Let's look at A. She also learned Hebrew, Aramaic, Persian, Latin, and some African dialects. B. They sang, enchanted, and threw flowers. C. But it bothered Cleopatra that she could not understand what they said. D. Ever since, all of the rulers of Egypt had spoken Greek. E. She loved learning and excelled in math and science too. All right, so think which 2 support your answer for part A. Again, pause the video and take your time to think. All right, number 2. Why doesn't Cleopatra's father speak Egyptian? A. Rulers of Egypt had spoken Greek for 250 years. B. Alexander the Great had banned the teaching of Egyptian. Hey, that's a word from Foundations. C. The king is more interested in playing the flute than learning a new language. Or D. Cleopatra's father and the Greek general Ptolemy had agreed not to speak Egyptian. Make your choice. There's one answer that is the best. Circle it and always look back in the text to see if you can find the proof. Number 3. Which sentence best explains why Cleopatra wants to learn to speak Egyptian? A. She hopes it will help her with her studies of math and science. B. She sees the love the people show for her father and for her. C. Her father explains the history of her family's language. Or D. She believes that as a ruler of Egypt, she should know Egyptian. Number 4. This question also has 2 parts. First, we will answer part A, then answer part B. Part A. Which words best describe Cleopatra? This is talking about character traits here. Is Cleopatra A, frightened and weak? B, spoiled and happy? C, thoughtful and caring? Or D, silly and careless? All right, part B says, which sentence from the story supports the answer to part A? So look at the character traits you chose for part A. Now we need the evidence. It doesn't say to select two this time though, so you're only choosing, right, one sentence for part B. Let's look at them. A, as the royal barge sailed, people crowded the banks hoping to see the princess and her father. B, she believed that a ruler should know her people. C, she loved learning and excelled in math and science too. D, Cleopatra is remembered as a brilliant queen. All right, remember, pause the video while you look back in your text and answer. Number 5, read these sentences from paragraph 6 of the story. But her father was the ruler of Egypt. Why didn't he and his family speak the native language? What does the word native mean in this context? Foreign, difficult, local, or ancient? And lastly, number 6. This is a graphic organizer. The top part, boys and girls, is already completed. The character that you should be focusing on is Cleopatra. In the box on the left below, they want you to list some traits. I told the boys and girls at school to try to come up with 2. Okay, so maybe split the box in half and pick one character trait on top and another character trait, a second character trait on the bottom half. And then right across from it, list the actions. Maybe she said something. Maybe she did something in the text. So this is your evidence over here, the actions. What did she do? What did she say that proves she's this kind of character and has this kind of personality? All right, 3rd grade, thanks for joining me today. Keep up the great work, and I'll see you next time.